Hello, my name is Parker.
And my name is Ned.
And this is the Force Unlimited, yet another Star Wars Unlimited podcast. This is episode number 44. We're recording a week after Sectors. Ned, how did you do at Sectors?
Boy, howdy, Parker. I did real hot at Sectors.
We should probably do an entire episode about your experiences at Sectors now that we have some credibility on the competitive front.
I mean, I hear that, but on the other hand, talking about my own accomplishments makes me feel uncomfortable. So can we bury that as part of a larger thing so that
Sure.
It's not entirely about me, but mostly about me?
Sorry, dear listener, we're going to do a potpourri episode.
Potpourri, 200, please.
Instead. Way to strike while the iron is cold. So Ned and I Ned and I are already running kind of in trouble. We're already just two middle-aged dude podcasts. So we work really hard not to be the dudes rambling podcast format where we just show up and rely on our personality.
Such as it is.
I'm not making any claims about how that would sell. But the point being is we try to come in every episode with 1 to 2 topics, and that drives the episode. These are the 1 or 2 things we're going to talk about, little bits or whatever. But the thing is, truth be told, that's actually kind of terrible for us because we don't apply the level of polish. You can hear Ned tonight's level of polish if you're in your car. We don't apply the level of polish that a proper YouTube video would be with the tight editing and the incredible AV. So we have topics, but we're not polished, and that weird middle ground means you can actually see the drop off. Personality based podcasts, it's you're just showing up for whatever. Whereas somebody can just be oh wait, intro Battle Hoth, no thank you, I'm out, absolutely, not for me, no thank you, and you see the drop off after 5 minutes. But I think it's a service to the listener. It helps structure the conversation. The catch is, every so often, we have a certain number of topics that don't merit 22 minutes. No. It's a thing we want to say it. It's here in our chest, but it's 2 to 5 minutes worth of. It's barely even a bit, and it's not funny enough to be an insertable bit. And I think this is our third potpourri episode where we just Ned and I each show up with 5 topics that don't merit a full episode, and kind of like tapas. You pay more to be sad because you just got a wide variety of things instead of one awesome plate. I love tapas. They're just expensive for a man of my size. So we're going to do 9 or 10 topics. Spoiler alert, we showed up with 10, but Ned and I picked the same one for one of our 5. So we're actually doing 9 topics. And we're just going to kind of shotgun them, and this will probably be a short episode. So I hope you have something else queued up for the rest of your commute if you have a long commute. Ned, topic number 1. Let's actually just talk about how you did at Sectors.
Woo!
Between Ned and I, we won 9 games at Sectors here in Portland last weekend. You went 9-3, Ned. That feels so. You have to feel good because I feel incredible.
I mean, I was just again, not to give too much away, but the fact that I did a lot of prep for Galactics and I went 0-3, that was a real long dark night of the soul moment.
That was I think Galactics was a 1-2 punch where, Ned, how would you describe your ability to just talk to a nonstop barrage of strangers?
Pretty low.
So you weren't coming off of a high, you were coming off of a nadir, emotional nadir at Galactics.
Yeah.
And so, you could see it in your eyes in Vegas, but here, it was fascinating though, because the math I feel is probably best discussed by others. It's pretty how Swiss math works out, but one of the things I found fascinating was you lost 2 of your matches reasonably early on day 1. You went 6-2 on day 1, and then your third loss was game 3 on day 2, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And I just found it fascinating that match number 9 was also 9-3, so it all came down to how many 2-0 versus 2-1s, strength of schedule, things like that. I just find that absolutely fascinating that on a certain level, I mean, every game continues, right? But at that point, your fourth match of day 2, your 12th match, at that point, you're just playing for
am I going to be top
possible
32
prizing
or not?
ranking.
Yeah. So spoiler alert, I finished 23rd. So
okay.
that
23rd?
Was 23rd. Are
you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Could have sworn you were 22nd. Okay, well, good luck to whoever was 22nd. I'm elated, Ned, because I feel like, one, it's just because I'm right. I've been saying basically since Shadows previews started that if you ever, stopped being janky and just took the game seriously, you'd do well. And I'd like to point out, you can't grind, right?
No.
Like, you have small children and no team, and your weekends are like your free time on the weekends is already mostly dedicated to making board game magic happen, and manifesting that dream. So I think 22nd in sectors for a non-grinder lends, one, I'm right, but two, it also just lends a lot of credibility, I think, to the show, that it's like, people should listen to you. People shouldn't listen to me, but that's okay. Literally says idiot down here, right? Like, I mean, we've already established people should not listen to me. But when you talk about, like, we try not to do previews because they're. Jack, please keep giving us previews. We try to do those previews, but we don't review previews because they're.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if a card's going to be good or not? I mean, some people do, but not us. But Ned, congratulations. That's got to feel just amazing.
No, it felt really good. So I felt like going in, I was doing a fair bit of testing in my I brought Cad Bane. I'm not sure if you've heard of this leader.
I have not. Walk me through. Introduce me to this leader, Ned.
So Cad Bane is a typo leader. He deploys on 6. He is a 2/8 with raid 2 on his flip side. But the main reason you're playing him is for the ability. The ability is when you play an underworld card. When he's on his leader face, you get to exhaust him and deal 1 in this way that would be indirect damage probably if it was a set later, but it wasn't, so it isn't. So it's 1 damage as your opponent chooses to a unit, specifically not a base. And then the flip side is that ability increases to 2. And it deploys.
That is a long introduction, Ned, but you have earned it. So you brought Cad Bane. I'm assuming Tarkentown?
Yes. No, that is the reason to play Cad Bane. The reason to play Cad Bane is...
You were playing the weenie variant?
Yes, I was playing the 1-drops variant. I feel justified in that. So going up, I was testing an Asajj Tarkentown deck. And what I found was I just could not win against control. I had very good games against like small ball decks, but I could not win against control with this Asajj deck because I was deploying 1 threat a turn. And against a control deck, you cannot do that, right? Like you have to be able to deploy multiple threats a turn in order to be able to credibly pressure. And so I started testing. I net decked the list and I started testing and I made some adjustments to it. And, not heavy adjustments. It was mostly in the sideboard about what specifically I was afraid of. So I cut, for example, the parliamentarians from, I think, the stock list because I felt like I had enough game against the Kylo decks that I wasn't.
Who did not show up.
They did not really show up, yeah. Like, there were 1 or 2, but yeah, they did not show up. But what did show up a lot was Hantu Blue, and boy howdy, Cad Bane Weenies has really good game against Hantu Blue. And
why would you say that is?
Because they've got a bunch of units that are already coming in pre-damaged, and then they're also not like outrunning you in the same way that other decks are, where you have a very good ability to like keep their board clear and race them. You have a very good ability. I played a couple of these blue-green villainy matches where they're on some control list, either Iden or Kira, a couple of different variations of that. And in those, you're just so fast that they can't really get their legs under them because you are deploying more than 1 threat a turn. The decks that you have problems with, and when I faced them, I had a really hard time, and what eventually knocked me out is the Han 1 decks, particularly like the Han 1 green decks. Those are really difficult to deal with because they're deploying very large threats fast enough, and then a lot of times they just have like incidental healing, so they can realistically race you, and you're just not going to be able to outspeed them. Sometimes you can take games off of them, but it's a hard matchup. Other decks that I lost to a Sabine deck. Wrecker is just really difficult to play against when you're playing a lot of one hit point ground units. Sometimes you can outrace them, but I felt like I had to be the control there, and I didn't quite get across the finish line. I also lost to a local deck that was Obi-Wan 3 green with the Force base. It was basically specifically built to counter ping Tarkin Town decks, and it was successful.
I mean, yeah, I guess you play something in ping and they just heal it. Now you can't Tarkin, and they lose initiative. But
yeah, they're playing like the high-end hero blue-green units like your Yodas, your Lukes, and you aren't able to like get under them fast enough to be able to take them out. So I had a really great time. I really enjoyed it. Played a bunch of games. I felt like my list was kind of a meta call, and I felt justified because I piloted it to where I got to, and other people
third most popular deck in the top 64. So that was our most popular leader. Before we jump to number 2, some preliminaries that I just sailed past, dear listener, which we'll get to. One, we still haven't heard about Baton getting to design a card after winning Galactics. Not going to let that drop. 2, I am drinking a Migration Brewing straight out of Portland. It's an IPA because it's straight out of Portland. Number 3, Ned and I did not play matches today. I got my double vax today, and I am still shaking off some of the autism. So, I'm just punky, and we're going to get through this episode, and then I'm going to get some sleep. So that's why we skipped all the preliminaries, because that's at the level I'm functioning. So my first topic is coming out of sectors. This is kind of something I wanted to talk about anyway, but then when they announced that Galactics would be at the Venetian in Las Vegas again last weekend in July 2026, but I felt like I wandered into sectors a little blindly of just, I'm going to come, I'm going to play, and then I'll figure out the side events. And there were people clearly there to play this very specific side events. I did not have a schedule, and I regret that. The pricing at sectors was not ideal. I have to assume that this is in some way tied to it not being run by FFG, so there's a across the top that Star City Games also needs to make money, and there's only one FFG employee doing things, and so there's not all these judges have to be paid and so forth. But the pricing was a little rough, and I felt that because I was not playing side events optimally. But I don't want to complain about sectors. I got some nice pretty cards. But it reminded me, one of my biggest regrets was at Galactics was not evaluating the prize wall. Before I looked at the prize wall, I paid money for some super laser blasts that I had neglected to bring because they were in Ned's binder, and I also took one Krennic, the set promo 25 Krennic. It was at Galactics. Even though he's in JTL, for some reason I was, a lot of the cards at Galactics rotated out, and I was like, do I need a playset of these pretty cards that are about to be unplayable? But Krennic's in JTL. He's going to be good through 2027. So I should have bought 2 more. And so we're going back. So Ned, I can ramble for a bit, but do you have, when we go back to Vegas, do you have any things that you would want to do differently? Or not do differently, but sorry, that implies regret. Do you have things that you will do differently when we go back in 2026?
Yes. I think that among the things that I will do differently, number 1 is getting a much better appreciation for how the hell to get out of the hotel.
We've shared that story, dear listener, but oh man, I'm going to share that story when you retire, Ned. That's like a key tenet of your mythos.
Yes.
That morning. So.
Boy, that was a rough scene. I think I'm definitely going to be bringing Twin Suns decks because I had fun playing once all the tournament was done at Sectors. We got to play, I'd say, 2/3 of a game of Twin Suns before somebody had to boogie.
Oh,
So,
I apologize, dear listener,
yeah.
if you are a friend of ours, if you are a local and you heard us share these stories at Sectors. But one of my favorite moments at Sectors was so as a kid I used to weaponize Murphy's Law. I used to try to like set up situations where Murphy's Law would actually secretly give me what I wanted. Ned neglected to bring any side event decks to Galactics, and then just spent the weekend wishing he had a Twin Suns deck. So Ned showed up not only with Twin Suns deck, but a trilogy setup for Sectors, even though Star City Games did not have any trilogy set up. And then Ned did well enough that by the time he got done playing Premiere, it was pretty much time for...
It was slim pickings for
yeah.
Twin
People
Suns.
weren't even playing. They were just trying to scam events to get tickets to get the last prize wall thing they needed before the whole event got shut down.
Yeah.
That tickled me. Yeah, so side events. I'm definitely going to do VIP again. I felt like that was super
definitely
worth it.
worth
I don't know that I
it.
do
Yeah.
VIP at Sectors. I felt like that was not...
I did not feel
worth
that
it.
was worth it, but yeah.
I think it really comes down to, are you getting anything exclusive? Because the what are they? The like credit card plastic bases are like
They
the
are
things
nice.
you could only, the mat that we got
Yeah.
is probably my second favorite mat. So definitely doing that again. My main thing I'm hoping to do differently is outside my control. Planning on I'm going to be pitching a panel on Trilogy aggressively. I planted that flag at Last Galactics. I'm going to bang that drum.
Heck yeah.
I also think, I think going in with my number one thing I want to do differently at Vegas is have a plan for the side events. Know kind of what schedule I'd like to do, a plan A, a plan B. What would I sign up for if I do poorly? What would I sign up for if I do well? I think slowly just optimizing food. I'd like to have dinner with somebody who's not from Texas.
Yes.
I mean,
it was lovely.
it was
Great.
lovely, but all three
Yeah.
dinners with the garbage rollers just feels like three wonderful
many.
dinners. But I
Yeah.
feel like, I didn't say that, Ned. I just feel like it's a lost opportunity.
Yes.
You're not getting invited back to Yardbird, Ned.
Damn. Shots fired. Oh.
All right. So our next topic is a Ned and I duo.
Yes.
We were having dinner with some local friends after day one, and I brought it up, and also Jennifer, my other best friend Edward, both brought up the idea of optimal decks to play if you're not going to grind. You brought up linear decks, and so I want to give you the opportunity to walk through that. But you also brought up Price as a linear deck, which I refuted, to which you strenuously insisted was, to which I filed away for this moment to get explained to me, because the life of a content creator, you don't want to pass up good instructional conversations for content. So step one, what kind of deck should one play if one does not have the time to grind but would like to, say, not go 0-3 at Sectors and just want to carve out one win?
The advice, and this is also why I feel like these decks tend to do very well into a new meta, are what are called linear decks. And a linear deck is a deck where you have a plan and you are trying to execute that plan. The opposite of a linear deck is an interactive deck. So it's very easy to kind of stylize this as aggro decks versus control decks. And that's true. Control decks are interactive decks generally, and aggro decks are linear decks generally. But the reason for that is that an aggro deck, your goal is to reduce your opponent's base health to 0. In order to reduce their base health to 0, you want to build the fastest way possible to do that. Like, that is the optimal aggro deck. And so if your opponent's job is to stop you from doing that, right? Like that is the job of the player playing control, is to stop you from doing that. And in order to stop you from doing that, they need to know what you're doing. So when you're playing an aggro deck, generally that's a more linear deck. But other kinds of linear decks are combo decks, decks that have like a strong combo element. So let's take in Star Wars Unlimited, I think there's only one real deck that is a true combo deck that I have seen, and that is the Rex Unity of Command list, or Unity of Purpose list. And that deck, basically you're just building to your flip turn, and then you're flipping. All right. I would say that like the Kylo decks, some of the Kylo 5 decks that are using like not as much Tarkin Town, but more of the like decks that shade into yellow where you're trying to kill your opponent basically on the turn that Kylo flips. Those tend to be more linear decks. And the reason why these are better is that you only have to learn your game plan and common things that your opponent will do to stop your game plan. Whereas with an interactive deck, you need to learn other people's game plans and then figure out what you are going to do to stop them. And this, for I think a lot of players, there is a tendency to bring kind of mid-range piles. And the reason why you like to bring mid-range piles is that they're good. You know, like they have lots of good cards. They tend to have like these really powerful haymakers. And so, you know, you might think of that as being a linear deck where like, okay, I'm just going to get to Luke, or I'm just going to get to Vader, and then once I start dropping those haymakers, I'm going to get where I'm going. But a lot of times they're not really linear because you need to be able to like interact with your opponent to get to where you need to go.
Well, I also feel like there's a lot of times where you have too much good stuff,
right?
Which seems counterintuitive, but when you have resource 6 and you have 3 resource 6 cards to play from, it's less linear because now you really need to know what's coming, what's the optimal 6 play. And I felt that I brought Thrawn for Data Vault, the spicy Chimera list, to sectors, and every match I played, I pivoted. You know, the game was in my favor, but I just ran out of health. Even with Data Vault, I ran out of health before I could secure it, and I feel like it was just not quite optimally playing against the matchup. I needed to have a better sense of what I was about to get hit with.
Yeah, and a big part about when you get into these like mid-range haymaker heavy games is that you are doing a lot of counterpunching, and you need to know like what kind of a threat can I deploy to force my opponent to deploy their haymaker so that I can respond with my haymaker, right? Like the only thing that's better than luking somebody's threat is you being able to like come back and luke. You know, you can't technically kill a luke with a luke, but you can set it up that you can basically do that, right?
Right. So you have this idea of Price as a combo deck.
Yes.
We don't normally talk about spoilers on this show, but it's relevant. Price is the leader who you can spend a buck to ready a token unit, and the question is that any good? No. You know, you want some pilots, but for you, the flip turn is this is an Anakin deck where you don't really. It's less about the front, and you just play her in her colors,
right? And
then it's the flip turn or putting her out as a unit where she gets +1/+0 for every ready friendly token unit.
Yes.
And you have this idea of a combo.
Yes.
Or a number of combos.
It's not an instant win combo, but basically what you are trying to line up is that on Price's flip turn, you have access to I Am the Senate, which is going to create 5 spy tokens. In addition, if you don't have I Am the Senate, because running a whole bunch of copies of that seems bad, you also have the Chancellor Palpatine I Am the Senate that is a plot card. It's pretty bad, 3 cost 2/2. But when played, it has, if you control a leader unit, create 2 spy tokens and give them Sentinel for this phase. So you can line up these turns where you're generating on your flip turn something like 5 and especially if you're playing like droid manufacturing. I'm not saying do that because that's a little bit all in, but I am in my like little futzing around testing.
This is the cooking phase of the meta.
This is the cooking phase. You're generating something like 7 token units, right? And if your opponent cannot answer that in a meaningful way, then you're able to swing in on the next turn for something like plus 5-ish damage. Leader strength plus 5, which is a lot. And you have as kind of the cherry on the top of that is on your 7 resource turn, you've got Scramble Fighters, which creates 8 TIE fighters and readies them. They can't attack bases this phase, but you don't care, right? Like
that's not their point.
Right. So this I think of as being, it's not a true combo deck in the fact that like just because you get to do your thing, you don't get to win, but it feels like what Rex Unity of Purpose is trying to do, where you're flooding the board with a lot of poopers and then you're making them relevant. But
so you're just playing red villainy and doing red villainy stuff until you get your flip turn, and then the idea is you just have a huge leader who gets to do huge leader stuff.
Yep.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
You have chastised me many times. Running bad cards to enable your cards is not always a good idea.
I think that this is definitely that. Yeah. No, Scramble
Okay,
cards is 100%. You're running bad cards to turn your bad cards into good cards.
Okay. But it is a linear deck.
It is a linear deck, right?
Okay.
This is less linear than more like combo-y combo list because it's still relying on your ability to. And what I mean by combo-y combo list, let's talk about a Kylo 5 list where you're basically trying to line up a flip turn where you're maybe like snapshot reflect, like in a perfect world you're snapshot reflexing in, you maybe got like, I don't know, some lightsabers, like a constructed lightsaber, some other good stuff in there, and you're smacking your opponent for something on the order of like 10-ish damage, 10 to 12-ish damage with like a big sentinel unit, right? That's like combo-ish. It's not winning the right.
So here's a question with it maybe not getting too far into Secrets of Power territory. What is, on one axis you have not aggro, right? So you have, or how control-y deck is, but I don't want to define it as control. It's not aggro. So Sabine is a 0 on the y-axis, and on the x-axis you've got linear. What deck takes up the most area? What is the least aggro-y, most linear deck that you can think of?
Least aggro-y, most linear deck that I can think of. I think that the Kylo, those Kylo 5 lists are the least aggro-y, most linear list that I can think of.
Because you're just playing blue villainy, good stuff, and then you. But is it because you're just doing your? I mean, those are still kind of trying to survive until they can get to the flip turn.
Yes, you are trying to survive until you can get to the flip turn, and like so that. I don't think we've seen like a pure, like all-in combo-y list. To borrow from like another game, right? You can think of, in general. Sorry, I'm gonna take a step back before I reference another game. In general, the longer that the game goes on, the more that you have to interact with your opponent. You are forced to interact with your opponent because your opponent is also taking game actions, and so if you want to not lose. Presumably, at some point, your opponent is going to try and win, and so you need to make sure that the game actions that you are taking are preventing your opponent from winning, right? The aggroier your list is, the less you care about your opponent's game actions because you are just making a bet on, I can win before you can, right?
Okay, sure, yep.
So the longer the game goes on, so like if you think about that chart, right, like, the slower a deck is, the more it generally has to lean into like a combo into an interactive strategy, but you don't have to go all the way, right? Like the more you go into the combo plan, that is a way that you claw back linearity, because the point of a combo is that it is a, the kind of archetypal overarching Ur combo is I have some set of cards that basically invalidate the rest of the game. It doesn't matter where we are in the game. Because I have assembled this set of cards, I win. Right? Like that is a perfect combo. And
which we now have with your boy GI1. There is a 4-month window. Somebody's going to get to pull that off in a competitive scene of the infinite combo where I win.
Exactly.
So, okay. Let's move on. We are... What?
Yeah. Did that answer the question? Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's a potpourri episode. Ned, we got to move on. Yep. We are 30 minutes and 4 topics in because we doubled up. All right. Next topic. I want to talk about a little bit about... There's a discourse with Secrets of Power. I think it is people of a competitive mindset are concerned it is not going to do enough. And I think that is, I naturescape at my house, not to double reinforce my Portland rep. I have very little grass at my house. I would like to have less. I like to naturescape because when we got our house, my wife sent me to a class, and it was explained that if you put in the work to plant native plants, then you can stop caring. And whew, yep, I'm in. So, native plants don't need to be watered. Native plants don't need to be fertilized. They're from there. That's their home. So that's my yard. And I shout out to Sparrowhawk Native Plants, which is my favorite nursery. They have a great sale every fall, and I buy plants in the fall and I plant them, and they seem sad and small all winter, and I'm terrified they're going to die, and then they thrive in the spring. And that's kind of how I'm approaching Secrets of Power, is that I actually think I'm really high on Secrets of Power. I think it's a really fun looking set. I think it is a set that's going to have a lot of good competitive cards in March. And I think there's a clear distinction between it is shaping up to be a set that does not move the competitive needle, very similar to our last November set, Twilight. We still have 50 previews, 2 leaders, so at the time of this recording, so who knows? Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people are saying there's a couple bangers in there, maybe, but it's the sectors that you were just at. Top 8 was all year 1. We didn't have any year 2 leaders. Post force throw, and I'm approaching Secrets of Power as it's going to be fun in March, but it just Spark of Rebellion is so dominant, it's really hard to compete with that. So I'm not concerned about that, though. I think a lot of people are frustrated because they've got to be competitive for the next 4 months, but I mean, is there a way to make people happy while downshifting a meta, Ned? Because Tyler has said they wanting this shift to a little bit less bang out of the gate and a little more, face slapping. Is so that you have to kind of downshift intentionally, and Secrets feels like that intentionality as opposed to Twilight, which I think was just a miss.
I think that just sort of talking broadly about things, people are always going to be unhappy when power levels go down. I don't think that's uniform, but like when there's not big splashy cards, that's not as exciting. Like people like to do exciting things, and power is generally exciting. It's not necessarily good for you, but that's the way that it is. What I will say about this set as being like a deliberate step down in power, I definitely see where people are coming from, but I want to push back a little bit against the set 1 leaders, or sorry, not the set, but the year 1 leaders. And I think that it's true that the year 1 leaders definitely had a lot more impact, but I also think that in terms of year 1 cards, there were some standards, but you also saw a fair few newer cards. Like I'm going to point to like Keller and Beck. I saw a lot of.
Oh well, they're new cards, right? Like yes.
Yeah, and I I think that leader design is difficult. I think that a lot of the leaders probably are too from Spark are too strong, and so I'm happy that we
Yeah.
have like less aggressive leaders.
Well, yeah, strong
Yeah,
and weak is relative, right?
yeah,
Like if prior to Spark there was a set where you could put out an 8-8 leader who flipped on 4 and had
sure.
overwhelm and like sure, like then all the Spark leaders would seem underwhelming. It's you
Yeah,
know Overton window, right? That's the
right.
term. It's a moving target. It's a moving definition of and I think I mean there's got to be a fiscal hit to I don't want to say lowering the power level because I don't know that they're necessarily lowering the power level. I think they're lowering the immediate on turn play impact, right? Which
Yes.
is you have Pose and Baneslayers. I'm mixing the
Yeah.
metaphors, but it's Pose and who's the other dude?
It's Pose and Akbars.
Pose and Akbars.
Yeah.
Like they want there to be more Pose, and
Yeah.
that's going to. That doesn't mean. I mean, Pose plenty
Pose
powerful.
serious. Yeah. Like
I mean, Poe's more powerful as a 4-cost 6/4, as
right.
he is often played. But they want there to be a not a lower power level, but a slower power level, and that just can't exist while Spark is fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there you have more experience with games than I do, Ned? Is there a better way to do this than it seems FFG is doing with their Operation Big Butt?
Um, I think Operation Big Butt is overall very strong. I think one of the things that they're doing with secrets that I really like is that there's a lot more build arounds, and I think one of the challenges is that in Twilight you also had build arounds, but the build arounds like the payoff wasn't quite there when you built around them. So I'm thinking of like the Dooku leader from that, where people had a lot of visions about, oh, I get to do like these exciting kind of rampy things, and yes, you could do that, but like the payoff wasn't there. I feel like at least from the cards that I've seen, there's a lot of exciting things that you can do, and if you get them to do the thing, they're actually pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Speaking of which, I got to say it again. I
yeah,
feel like I've danced around this a couple times, but this is the time to say it because it's a potpourri episode. I feel
yeah,
like Dooku Leader's downfall was that he had exploit in the exploit set.
yeah,
And he was so all the separatist cards were the exploit cards, which meant that they were already kind of overcosted on the assumption that you could discount them. And sure, you can do more discounting with Dooku, but now you're sacrificing 3 or something, which is,
mm-hmm.
and as we learned in Twilight, you're never going to have 3. You're not going to have 3 on the board. And I feel like Dooku will become an absolute menace in Twin Suns over time. Not that that's competitive, but just because
Sure,
if you can run a deck that's got 40 or 50 non-exploit separatist leaders,
mm-hmm.
then he that now suddenly those cards don't have any discount priced in. They're just priced to go into some other weird non-separatist themed deck, and he's able
Right,
to just run with it. But
yeah,
anyways, so yeah, no, I agree that Secrets of Power has a lot of build around.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'm excited to see Capture return. I'm excited to see more and more stuff return. They've talked a little bit about. I think it'll be interesting to see if. So we now have 2 keywords: smuggle and plot,
Yes,
that pull cards from your resource row, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. You can only have so many. I mean, on a long enough timeline, they can have 100 keywords that pull cards from the resource row. But the overlap between smuggle and plot feels very intentional. Plot feels like a response to smuggle. So it'll be interesting to see which one becomes, makes a reappearance in
yeah.
future sets. All right, Ned, you got another topic. Let's cruising along.
Yeah, on the subject of smuggle, let's talk about something that I had a lot of trouble with at Galactics, and that is when you aren't used to playing at a competitive power level, there is a tendency to make certain like mechanical mistakes. And this is mostly for me to call myself out. I had a hell of a time remembering to re-resource after I smuggled. And I, got a warning for it in one of my later matches. I didn't lose a game because of it, but it did not help me in that game when I forgot to add a new resource in from the top of my deck. And that's something.
How did the judge resolve that? Did you get it later?
In the game that I got a warning for, yeah, I got it later. In the other game, I just rolled forward without it because you
were just down a resource. It's a worse mechanic there, Ned.
Yeah, it's a remarkably worse mechanic when you're just down a resource.
When you're just down a resource, so.
But
I've never been in a high stakes game, Ned, so I can't comment on this one.
But
actually,
I
was gonna say I always forget to replace my smuggles, but I forget a lot of physical component aspects, both to my benefit and to my detriment, and rely purely on community goodwill of just like the brand of being an idiot carries a lot of water when I can carries a lot of weight when I can just be like, yep, that tracks that I just don't know this, but I could get good.
This potpourri topic, I'm not sure that there's much here, but given what you said, but I do want to call out, and I want to say, for me, this is an action item for me, and I think for a lot of players, if you don't play a lot at like competitive rules enforcement level, play more games. I know it's hard to do to squeeze in, but just play more games where you are
more physical games
where you're being very deliberate about the exact game actions that you are doing and announcing all of your game actions and being very deliberate about triggers, because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Missed triggers is a thing in all competitive games.
Yeah.
So okay, I want to talk. My next topic is a little bit of a twofer. I wanted to say a lot of people I've seen make comments about the difficulty in getting stores to support Trilogy. They want to play Trilogy, but the store is filled with Premier or whatever. And I want to note, we've talked a lot about why I think Trilogy is the superior format. I think it's better competitively. I think it's more fun. You get without sideboarding, matches play out faster, so you're more likely to get a bathroom and or burrito break. Speaking of burrito break, holy cow, that place in Pioneer Square, way better than it had any right to be. Those were amazing burritos. I don't remember the name of the place.
K
so
Rico,
good.
I think.
Went back.
Yeah.
What?
K Rico, I think.
Sounds great. Sure. We went back there on Sunday. It was fantastic.
Yes.
So, but Trilogy is great for a lot of reasons, but it's great for stores because if you have to run 3 decks, that's 156 cards instead of 62. That is 2.5 times the number of cards, and at whatever competitive level you're playing it at, whether it's just for funsies, you're doing weird jank, or at trying to make it into a competitive scene, that's more cards. If you have to own more cards, then stores ostensibly sell more cards. And so I wanted, one, if you're trying to pitch Trilogy to your store, trying to make it happen, maybe kind of mention to your local store that it requires a lot more cards. That is already happening for me here. It is wild how sometimes you put things into the world and they kind of start to happen at sectors. I mentioned to 2 or 3 people, 4 people, 2 or 3 times rather, not people, that I really want. I have not 1 but 2 Star Wars Unlimited brands to my name that have earned some amount of goodwill. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to kind of put those to work to allow Star Wars Unlimited to kind of shape up to be the kind of thing that I want it to be. I have dreams of, I want to do a youth showdown. That's something I think would be really cool, is a no adult showdown. Let your kid come play safely without sweaty adults. Biased because I have a kid, but I know a lot of locals who have kids they play SWU with at home. They don't want to bring their kid to play Star Wars Unlimited, where they're just going to get bodied by somebody running 3 Lukes. And I think that I'd love to make that happen. But what I really want to make happen first is I'm not going to wait for Fantasy Flight to get around to creating a Trilogy PQ. Those Trilogy PQs will come as a response to the community doing it themselves. I want Trilogy 1Ks. I want Trilogy events. I kind of said this, that wouldn't it be nice if there was like some kind of Swooty Bee trilogy event. And that's all, like, literally, not only is that what I said, that's the amount of thought I had put into it. And I'm excited to say, I can't announce anything, but like, I have multiple people have reached out. Shout out to Courtney from Locals, who started bringing it up in the Portland Star Wars Unlimited Discord. And clearly there's hunger, there's interest. A couple stores have reached out. Somebody who runs 1Ks I've been put in touch with, who's excited about the idea. This is, so I'm already in some kind of preliminary talks to make this happen. But I think trilogy is good for stores, and I think stores see that because it's happening, which is wild to me. So thank you to everybody who's already reached out. I don't know anything about. I've never put on an event. I don't play competitively. I don't judge. I don't do any of this. I just kind of blindly walk around and get excited. But I think there's going to be a Swooty Bee event in 2026, which I'm really excited about. Ned, your next topic.
My next topic is about my favorite sectors moment. And, again, we're kind of looping back to the brag. But for me, making day 2 was something that I did not expect. After going like 1 and 2 early on, I thought, okay, well, I've done better than I did at Galactics, but being able to just like keep going and that knife edge, and then finally end of the evening hitting day 2, that was just an amazing moment for me, and I want to celebrate it. Parker, what is your favorite moment?
I'm not good at favorites, so a couple. I'm going to save one of my all-time favorite moments for our last bullet point, our last potpourri. But a couple of moments. Burritos were real good. Just going to revisit that one. I want to give a shout-out to our friend Fee, who took down Lego Pizza, running main-decked Agreed Parliamentarians. Those Parlos actually worked, and there's a not unreasonable chance that I was more chuffed about that win than Fee. Probably not, but I was just absolutely delighted about that. And for me, I think one of the best parts is the true story is I hang out in a lot of Discords and a lot of Star Wars Unlimited Discords because I Google myself. I look up, are people talking about the site that I make? Are they talking about Swooty Bee, so that I can see what are people complaining about and what are people succeeding with? Where are pain points? It's the best way to kind of gather UX feedback because I don't have a UX person. But the true story is you can do that all day long, but you sit down across the table from someone and they find out you're that guy. They have thoughts. Everybody has thoughts, and it's great. I derive a lot of value in just being that guy and being able to, yeah, that's my other thing I do. And they're like, oh my God, yeah. But also, it's nice to be like, I have one feature request, and I got that just match after match after match, one feature request. That reminds me, sorry, Punchy, I should have brought this up. Ned, I felt like, are you familiar with chess boxing?
Yes, I am very familiar with chess boxing.
So, dear listener, if you're not, chess boxing is speed chess and boxing. You play rounds of boxing and minutes of chess back and forth, and you can win with either a KO or checkmate. And so you just get punched in the head and then try to think. And you can lose by being punched in the head too hard or by being punched in the head so hard you get dumb at chess. I felt like I was watching you do chess boxing in sectors, Ned, where you are like trying to play a very competitive, like high level format, and then you have 15 minutes in between, and somebody wants to come over and like thank you for the podcast. And again, as noted, your extroversion battery is not as large as mine, and like watching that like whiplash of like in it, out of it, in it, out of it, in it, without any break. You looked punchy.
I was a little punchy. With that said, if you see me, please do come up and say hi. I really appreciate it. It is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Do not.
Oh man, it's the best. It's literally why we do it.
Yeah, 110%.
This channel's not monetized.
No.
We're literally doing this so that we can kind of put our thoughts and stories out into the world, and people can come and say like, "I heard your thought and story," and we're like, "Yeah, awesome." That means you think about the game the way we think about the game. All right. So, Ned, we're going to jump to you again because this is where I want to talk about linear decks.
Yep.
So we're going to talk instead about...
Instead, we are going to talk about the card that we are most excited to see rotate out. I mean, it is people talking about the excitement about new cards, but for me, I am most excited to say goodbye to cards. And it was a hard thought thing for me, but I honestly think the day that I never have to see ECL again in Premiere is going to be a happy day.
You still think that's going to be the real threat compared to like Tarkin Town or Dad Vault?
I don't think it's the threat. It's just it's the card I like least, right? Like
that's fair.
Yeah, like by the objective metric of looking at like tournament standings, yeah, Tarkin Town is probably more impressive, and Tarkin Town is probably a worse like negative play experience. I like Tarkin Town decks, so that makes me a monster. But like I don't mind getting Tarkin Town, right? Like that's the price of admission. But having to constantly be thinking, okay, is this the round that they're going to ECL out the Wrecker? Is this the round they're going to ECL out the Vader?
Yeah, I see. I just don't like the Wrecker. It's not the ECL. It's the Wrecker. But you're right.
Anything that is in the like 5 to 6 resource band and is like a 2-for-1 when it attacks, it immediately turns a bunch of perfectly reasonable Poes into Akbars, and Wrecker, which is already like a half Poe, half Akbar, into a double Akbar, and it's brutal.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do not like playing against it. I've made my peace with Darth Vader commanding the First Legion.
Who will also rotate.
But yeah, no, I am.
I've been thinking a lot about Vader, just tangent, but it's the nature of the episode. I'm running a charity event for my kids' school, and I'm going to ask them, who their favorite Star Wars character is. And so it's just going to be a sealed learn to play event, but I'm going to give each of the kids a playset of their favorite, Star Wars character. I'm really, I'm just terrified of. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to have to say, if they say Darth Vader, it's like, who's your second favorite Star Wars Unlimited or Star Wars character? Because at least Luke has heroism. Luke, unit Luke. There's ones that are worth that I can pick up a playset to give away to a kid for nothing. But there are only 3 expensive Vaders. I mean, they're not like criminally expensive, but even Pilot Vader is non-trivial in price.
What about Vader Leader? What about
they don't need
JTL Vader Leader?
Sure, I can give Vader leaders, but that's not a playset that they could throw into a deck.
No,
like the whole point is, So anyway, I think I went back and forth on this question a little bit before we started recording, and I'm of very mixed feelings because my answer is a card that I am very sad to see go, but I am happy to see it go because I don't like being against it. It's Power of the Dark Side. I'm excited to watch that card go because But one, I love playing Power of the Dark Side, so I will be sad to see it go. But more importantly, it is a card that I think will be worse in this post-Operation Big Butt. In a world where they want cards to stick around, and you're more likely to have 2 to 5 units on, 2 to 4 units on board because they don't immediately trade. Power of the Dark Side gets a lot worse. Power of the Dark Side is a good card such a good card because it's leader removal at 3. It is very easy that if your opponent is not playing a go wide strategy, then it's pretty trivial to arrange a good trade where they spent more for, even if it's just 1 for 1, but you can get it the one that matters. And I'm afraid that it will actually be weaker and more reasonable post Operation Big Butt, and we won't see that.
I agree. I think that the most egregious feature of Power of the Dark Side is when it is played on 3. Is that if your opponent plays like a 2-cost unit and then you play, let's pretend that you have the initiative. You play a 2-cost, they play a 2-cost, you take the initiative, and then you immediately Power of the Dark Side, right? Like that's the same negative play experience as Tarkin Town, except.
Walk me through that, because in my mind, then they play a 3-cost unit.
Right, but
you get a swing,
yeah,
which is really mostly relevant for 4 spaces.
Yeah.
But then you're going into resource 4, where you have a resource 2 and they have a resource 3 unit.
I agree from like a broad perspective, but if you are a deck that is if you are in the aggro position. If you are the aggro deck in this matchup, yes, your opponent only has a 2-cost unit to your 3-cost unit, but they have also bought themselves time, and that's the main thing. Is that
right, and in a blue villainy deck, they're just looking to buy time.
They're just looking to buy time. So if you're playing,
it's not in red heroism. It's in blue villainy, which wants to get to the Avenger.
It just wants to get there, right? So if you're playing, I mean, not sorry.
All right, one more topic. Our last topic. So I wanted to talk about. I feel bad about ending on a down note, but this is meant to be. It was originally written as silver lining. What is the silver lining of a stale meta? Because I think there is a reasonable forecast of a stale meta. Who knows? We still have 50 cards, and people cook, and it's possible. I'm really excited about Dryden Voss leader. That's absolutely my kind of leader. That's exactly how I play the game, and I will, much like Avar, Dryden is a leader I want to play in all 3 colors. I mean, cunning begrudgingly, but I'll play it in aggression. I'll play it in vigilance. But that's March, I think.
Right.
And I'm going to try cooking. Lots of people are going to try cooking. Who knows? But I think there's a reasonable chance we're going to end up with a bit of a stale meta, which is not a bad meta. But the truth is that even a good meta, when stale, is bad. You don't want 8 months of the same meta. And I was thinking, okay, so, but it happens. That is an inevitability in a TCG on a long enough timeline. Any kind of game with a shifting meta. Sometimes it gets a little stale where you show up to locals and you're running Sabine and you're just seeing the decks you've seen before, running the cards you've seen before. And there's some improvements where they took out the 2 or 3 weakest cards in their deck and replaced them with really good cards. Okay, do you want, is Village Protectors as good as the new Cassian, right? Okay, so I took out the 3 Village Protectors for 3 cost, 2/2 with a shield, and now I've got a 2/2 that ignores 2 points of damage and can't even be, it's a indirect damage sink. It just, not an indirect damage sink, but it's a Tarkentown sink. It's a Cad Bane sink, right? Like it's okay, sure. So they replaced it with that, but you're still running the same shell. So you've got what's essentially a stale meta. I'm not predicting that will happen. I am saying, much like a weather forecast, chances are good. But the 4 months between now and March still have to pass.
Yes.
Right? Like one option is just completely get in a time machine or go do something other than Star Wars Unlimited for 4 months. I don't know about you, Ned. That's not an option for me.
That's not
an option I want. Right? Like, we're still going to be playing Star Wars Unlimited. So how to approach so less rosy, not what is the silver lining, but how to approach a stale meta. And I'm going to give my 2 thoughts. If and then while you gather yours, Ned. The first is, I'm going to say, if you are a mediocre competitive player, if you have not secured your spot at Galactics yet, then a stale meta, and that's not you, Ned. You're 25 points to the way there. But I'm saying, if you haven't already locked because you're not one to grind PQs. Mike Gem of KTOD noted, pointed out to me that I thought was, in a way, something that I thought was interesting, was that the forced throw ban increased the presence of the KTOD team at the Portland sectors, because their team is based out of the Northeast, and traveling to Portland is not cheap. And as much as you may be a grinder, as much as you may be a very competitive player, if the meta's not fun, you're less likely to want to for most of us, money is finite. And so if you are one of those players who can top 8 a weaker PQ, who is eyeballing Alaska, or one of those PQs with like 19 players, that's about to be, I think there's a reasonable chance that's about to become a lot of PQs. Not that there'll only be 19 people, but players who've already secured their spot at Galactics, who are really competitive, do they really want to go take down another PQ? Especially, if the meta is to them a little boring, this is your chance. And I'm definitely looking at this as a chance to secure some placement cards at a PQ, which I have not. Top 8. I would like to top 8 a PQ, and I think the sectors meta has the high potential to be the kind of flat attendance that allows a lesser player like me to make that happen. The other thing but the flip side of the coin is so what to do if you already are a super competitive player and you're staring down a boring meta. And I would say, like, now is a great window to try something else. I played so much Twin Suns at sectors because I went 0-3. Pause, shout out, friend of the show, Fee. I played, I think, against 4 Fee decks. If you are into Twin Suns and you are not subscribed to Metal Marshmallow on YouTube, you are doing yourself a disservice. That woman cooks. Those decks, she seems like a nice person in every interaction we've ever had, but I suspect her heart is filled with cunning and malice. They are dark decks, but they're really good. Anyway, it was really fascinating seeing leaders like that I had dismissed be used in a very compelling fashion. I saw a Fee deck not run by her because she was still competing. A GI Yellow, the Legends of the Forest Grand Inquisitor, paired with Revan, such that GI allows you to more likely survive the attack to get the experience from Revan. Mm-hmm. That was a pain in the butt. So in a stale meta, I mean, I've heard competitive players in the last week or two say things like, I should really look into Twin Suns. I've heard people, who want to make a thing happen for trilogy deck, a trilogy scene. This is that window where, when the fields lie fallow, this is, when you're doing the prep for the next thing. The meta is going to be disgusting in March. I don't necessarily mean disgusting powerful. It's just going to be completely different. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's just absolutely going to be nuts. I'm so excited for the PQs that happen right after Lawless drops. But
yeah.
So, Ned, do you have thoughts on how to spend the next 4 months if Secrets of Power does not manifest anything?
I mean, I'm going to echo you on the jank, where when you are, I love jank. I know I come across as
if it's sunny, jank. If it's rainy, jank. If the weather doesn't matter the season, it's jank.
No. But if you imagine, again, I always go back to the topography analogy, but when you are in a situation where the area around a particular peak has been very well explored, it is worth it to just cast yourself further afield and see if there are spaces that have not been explored where maybe there's an even taller mountain. I don't know. The answer is probably not. But if you're not,
so you're saying explore jank from a competitive standpoint of now's a chance to cook.
Now is the chance to
high risk cook, high risk, high reward cooking.
Yes, yeah, no, exactly. Is that if you know the kinds of things that you need to answer, you can play things that are very weird but optimized to handle those kinds of things. I think the Bothan Network Kylo Red deck was something that was very weird. It wasn't hyper weird. People were expecting Kylo, but they were expecting Kylo Green. They were not expecting Kylo Red going into Galactics. And that deck, it did many of the same things as Kylo, but it approached the game from a very different direction. And so you had a very, unusual brew. So
you're saying now is the chance to really just try to crack something that you feel like there was juice that you never could squeeze. But
right. Because in a stale meta, you know what you have to deal with. You know where the threat vectors are, and if you know where the threat vectors are, you can be a little more, bold.
Aggressive in preparing for them and so forth.
The other thing is, the counterpart to I don't have a lot of time to prep is if you like interactive decks, if you like playing control decks, I know there's a bunch of people who really love playing these thoughtful control decks. When there's a stale meta, the control tends to do well because the meta's defined. You know what...
Mike Gem took it down with Palp in yellow. That's for the Palp in yellow, not Mike. Yeah, because at that point you know exactly what you're up against, and you can deal with it. So
then you get these like weird growths where like, again, even in a stale meta, there's going to be a lot of shifts of like the share of different kinds of decks.
But it's a micro shift, right? I mean, I think that's very much the call you made with Cad Bane, where you were I think, were very successfully meta literate and anticipating that there would be Hantu and blue and
blue-green villainy control, right? Like that.
Which you were. Yep. You were strong against, and so there's that. So okay, that is our episode. Ned, do you have episode number 43? Baton's still
44.
We have not heard 44. If he's designing a card. What? 44. I hit stop on recording. Ned, do you have any final thoughts for our dear listeners?
I have a really sweet uncut sheet of Star Wars Unlimited cards, and I'm going to be working over the next couple of weeks to like put it up on a backdrop because I think it deserves it.
It's not a sheet, and I think it's so wild to me that I'm angry about it, and none of the people who actually got one are. It's a poster. I'm sure it was printed on the thing that the cards are printed on, but it was wild to me that it's not whoever
not the cardstock material. No,
it's not cardstock. Credit to whoever designed it. They picked out some really great cards.
Yeah,
and so it looks really cool, which is a lot better than just like a giant sheet. And I'm sure with like modern optimization of printing, it wouldn't shock me if like, whatever. But like, it's probably better than just in a giant sheet of commons or something. But it was wild to me to get it and be like, this isn't magic. I could go to FedEx and print it. It was wild to me. Anyways, you deserve better, Ned. Congratulations on your placement at Sectors. You
also
have to listen to us, dear listener.
If the prizes ever offer the uncut sheet of cards, bring a poster too, because carrying that home on the max was rough.
Yeah, I can imagine. At least you don't have to go past a soccer game. All right, that's it, dear listener. We will see you probably in 2 weeks, probably doing our vows. So we'll see you then.
Adios.